Hi, I'm Gerard Scarpaci, co-founder of Hairbrained, and my scholar tip really comes from my personal experience. I think that as a young hairdresser, the most important thing that helped me was that I learned that it was a craft, not a job. And then I looked into what crafts were and what that meant. So it meant to make functional and potentially beautiful objects with your hands. So I've always focused on working well with my hands, developing dexterity, taking care of my hands. So that's one part of it. But then the bigger part of it is that a craft is a journey. There's not instant gratification in a craft, whether it be woodworking, a plumber, an electrician, anything where you make something with your hands, a potter, nobody just picks it up and in their first month masters it. So you don't want to have that thinking as a hairdresser. You want to think, I'm going to go through an apprenticeship phase. And this has nothing to do with money or licensing or anything like that. You can be a full-time hairdresser behind the chair, but in your mind, in the craft, you're still an apprentice. You're beginning to learn and understand the fundamentals of the craft. You're focusing on them. You're putting in more hours than you possibly should as an apprentice. You might be focused 18 hours of your day on learning how to really get into the dirt and work with your hands as a hairdresser. It's your number one focus, and you're this really obsessed with it for quite a while. And I think that's your apprenticeship phase, and that should last every hairdresser at least 2 years in the beginning, where you're more focused on becoming a master than you are on making money. Of course, we all have to make money to survive, but those first 2 years, it's all about learning the mastery of the craft and understanding it. Then you go into what they call the journey. It's the journeyman, literally your apprenticeship, journeyman, master. That journeyman is usually about 7 years. And this is where you're now learning different approaches, different ways to interpret things, challenging what you know, throwing some of the fundamentals out and rewriting the rules for yourself. And this takes even longer because there's a lot of mistakes. In the apprenticeship phase, you're working with the classics. People have already figured out how they work. The journeyman is much more challenging because you can make mistakes, you're going to learn from mistakes, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to try new things, but that's how it leads to mastery. So now we're into this about 9 years, maybe even 10 years before you can really consider yourself a master. And you've earned that. It doesn't have to be an official title that you put on the wall. It's in your own mind, your own justification of who you are and what you do. It's thinking of yourself as a craft hairdresser, and you've gone through these phases and you've achieved mastery, and that goes hand in hand with your success. That's my scholar tip.
Who do you nominate?
I nominate Daniel Joseph Muldoon.